Basically, my presentation today is so basically I just said here that the abstract, it was found that venture capital financing has an impact on the growth of innovative startups in Nigeria, and then the use of venture capital financing increased profitability, and then spurs employment growth, boosted asset base, and improved the quality of management for venture capital backed startups. Then it was also concluded from my study, um, that venture capital backed startups will make more meaningful contribution to the society. Then there are, these contributions could be in form of improvements in productivity, reduction in poverty rate, then paying taxes to the government, overall growth of the economy. And the recommendation from this study was that there should be an enabling environment for venture capital investments to grow and blossom. Then the importance and relevance of the study. Employment and productivity are key issues that are very important to the economic and social life of all nations, especially Nigeria. Unemployment is not only a cost, to a country, but a very serious macro issue that needs urgent attention in the continent of Africa, especially Nigeria. Terrorism, drug trafficking, prostitution, hostage taking, armed robbery, militancy, just to mention but a few. So, and as a result of this, there is an urgent need to reduce the cost of unemployment by the Nigerian government through promotion of startups and small enterprises. And then to achieve this study will provide the government and other relevant stakeholders the needed information for policy making and the area of encouraging institutional investors capable of promoting venture capital funds, and that these funds could basically be available to innovative startups for growth and job creation. A large number of startups and small enterprises, they just wallow in stagnation. They don't grow at all due to lack of finance, for growth and expansion. And it is said here that startups that lack funds for growth will neither create jobs nor make any contribution, towards the economic and social development. But the main challenges for African sustainable inclusive growth is the identification of these job-creating startups and providing them with the needed finance and insights. And then, basically, there are certain different sources of finance or capital for startups. Especially the traditional sources of finance for startups. So you have the internal sources from the venture capital, the founders' money, and then from there the friends and families, and then you now get to the the ones that are quite in between, the friends and families, and then the banking industry, which will be the venture capitalists, and then the business angels, and then the corporate venture capital. But it is said here that despite the fact that venture capital companies have been operating in the country in the as early as 1987, there are still some financing gaps that exist. And then my study will now seek to profile solution for those financing gaps, just to be narrowed. Because if they are not narrowed at all, that means that venture capital and then will not have any contribution at all to make to startups in Nigeria. So, and then here, there are some few challenges, the startups are facing. One of them is the lack of general knowledge of the sources of risk capital, and also insufficient comprehension of the operational and financial requirements of the venture capital on the part of the entrepreneurs. And then here again is that there is a concentration of venture capital operations in very few urban areas in Nigeria. And this makes it difficult for startups in other parts of the country to have smooth access to the venture capitalists. And then again, under the literature review, innovation and its importance. Innovation is absolutely very important in every single economy. Urgent developmental challenges such as reducing hunger, eradicating neglected diseases, providing access to drinking water can all be tackled and solved by innovation. And there is a very huge significance of entrepreneurship development in Nigeria. And it is absolutely vital because with entrepreneurship, then prosperity can be created in the country and then eradicate hunger and poverty caused by unemployment. And here again, now, startups contribute a lot to the entire economic growth because research by ACTS found that startup companies have immediate and direct effect on employment growth. And also the influence of venture capital financing on innovative startup capital is been proven by existing literature that there is a remarkable difference between startups that are backed by venture capital and then those startups that are not backed by venture capital. And quickly here, I just went to the methods. I used exploratory research design, which was employed in this study, and then I also adopted inductive research approach. And for my work, the population consisted of all the startups in selected cities: Onitsha, Awka, Nnewi, and Abuja, totaling 120. But what I did here was that I used systematic sampling technique just to select the sample size of 30 startups from the 120. This is just to make it manageable, just to handle the research, because I also used the in-depth interview. That is, I used the qualitative data analysis. After all said and done, collecting all the data, then I used the NVivo, which is a comprehensive qualitative data analysis software, just to help to analyze, the data I collected. And these, but the very important thing here was that after collecting the data, then there will be themes and categories, and sifting through all these pool of data, was challenging. It was challenging because there are new concepts that emerged from the data I collected, and all these new concepts were sieved and then coded. So I now went here I'm already concluding anyway. I just went to the result here. There are different sectors. You have, for instance, education. You have ICT, you have financial services, agriculture, manufacturing, healthcare, property, merchandising, and all those things. But the very important finding here was that 14 entrepreneurs out of 30, that is 47%, established ICT-focused, businesses or enterprises. And then the number of employees here, the study indicated that out of 30 startup companies, only 6 startups employed between 16 and 22 employees. And it was found that it was only the 6 startups that that they obtained venture capital finance. So, and then the total number of employees for the whole 6 companies before they obtained the venture capital was 31. Then why the total number of employees after availing the venture capital was 115. So basically, there was a very huge percentage, increase for the 6 startups, that obtained venture capital. So the increase ranged between 200% and 350%. And yeah, just before I now go to the, just to the summary, then the major themes and patterns here, which is also a very significant part of the study, is that I now found that there was dearth of information about venture capital operations. Then there was lack of knowledge, and many business angels, not many business angels, and then few venture capitalists and few venture bankable ventures. And there was also proximity, proximity to venture capital, firms, banking facilities, poverty level, reliance on personal savings, friends and family, dilution of control, issue of trust and rigorous process, capital markets, macro level uncertainty, emerging industry, regulatory environment, and then management style, stringent collateral requirements, and no real VC presence, and the economic environment. So under the summary, I said here that the findings reveal that startup companies in Nigeria face enormous challenges in raising venture capital finance. A significant finding here was that startup companies achieved an impressive growth in the number of employees and overall profitability after obtaining venture capital finance. The finding also revealed that after obtaining venture capital finance, 83% of startups that utilize VC expressed that profit surged. And then significantly, the study revealed that an overwhelming majority of startups relied on personal savings and friends and family to finance their ventures. And in conclusion, it was also found that the impact of venture capital finance on the performance of innovative startups is real and factual. And as a result of the venture capital investments in startups, wealth has been created, which has subsequently boosted the macroeconomic well-being of the people. So I will stop here. Although, if you allow me, I will just say the suggestions. The last thing I will say here, the suggestions for future research. Then I say that considering, the findings of the study, venture capital financing for innovative startup companies in Nigeria, some areas still need research. The possible areas for future research include, firstly, since the study has revealed a positive link between venture capital finance and economic growth, specifically in the area of growth in employment and overall profitability of the startups, the momentum needs to be sustained. Therefore, future research needs to be performed on how to sustain this growth. And secondly and lastly, it was established in the study that the screening process by venture capitalists was very laborious, resulting in unfruitful attempts by many startups to be considered for funding. Future research focusing on the screening of startups is needed. Thank you, sir.